login. Okay, so we can assume that we have the login, right? Then we have the probably forgot password, right? And maybe we'll have the sign up. So I'm just duplicating this with Command D or Control D for Windows users. So we have the login, we have the forgot password, we have sign up, and okay. So I think that's basically would work. Then probably before you land on the dashboard, right? Dashboard profile. So you can have multiple wireframe screens for showing these stuffs, right? So we have dashboard. So you can complete like the wireframes or the sketch on one section. So you can show your users. You can show this to your users or your clients or your team or your product or your product manager. So saying that okay, this is what the login screen would look like. This is what the forgot password screen would look like. Maybe we have like the enter your email. I take off this section. Okay. All right, we'll say enter your email and okay, so maybe I would have just give me a second. Let's fix this. Okay, so what I'll just do is make this okay. So forgot. I'll probably reset password, right? Reset password. Okay. So and maybe you want to have this right here in the center. So, I mean, this is not the best, and I think there's something we would also explain to you as we go on with sessions, workshop sessions like this. We would actually explain to you how users basically interact with applications, right? Why should we have this, somewhere around here and not specifically in the center or at the top? Because when users are probably using this application, they would most likely, try to interact, with their thumb, right? So you have to put some of these action buttons in areas where they can easily have access to, clicking on some of these buttons or selecting some of these buttons without having to, stretch their hands or probably change the way they are holding the device, right? So I think Amaka would explain this better in a different session, but this is just a quick example. You have the reset password and you have other things on this page. So I'm just trying to show you. You can have your mid-fi, showing these screens as well. So you can always move from one section to the other when you're presenting this. Okay, so this is what our low fidelity looks like. And as we progress, as we made some changes, we're iterating on this design. We got down to our mid-fi, right? And as we progressed again, after a while, we're able to come up with the high fidelity. So we are going to work on something different, right? Right now, we're still going to do that, in this same file. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this. Let's move this down. Okay, that's a mistake. Oh, come on, not again. So, all right. So, for those of you that were not in the previous session, we actually worked on a very simple sketch. Unfortunately, I did not transfer that sketch to my. Let's see. I did not transfer that sketch. Okay, to my laptop. But I have that sketch right here. Okay, so if you can see, I don't know if this is clear enough though, but if you can see this, I have a very simple sketch. So yeah, I have a very simple sketch, right here. Maybe what I would have done is, stream this to my laptop. Yeah, the way we did it the other time. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that real quick. All right. So let me do that real quick. Okay. Okay, so let's see if Oh, okay. Amaka, is this still, is this okay?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So yeah, we're able to work on this. We're able to work on this in the previous session we had together. We're able to just implement something as simple as this, and this is what we're going to work on this time around. I think I have to. All right. So this is what we're going to work on this time around. We are simply going to implement this UI. We have a bunch of an icon right here. Now I think this is it's not looking very good. Okay. So we have like icons. We have like the profile picture, the profile details. These things are written down on the side. So the name, email, phone number, I think account number, transaction history. So these are just basic icons showing this stuff. So I'm going to start designing this, and I'll try as much as possible to be fast so we can cover this in this session. So let's see. First off, I think we are simply going to take off some of these things. Yes, to that. Yeah, so let's take this off. Now take off the icons. I'm going to reuse this text. Yeah, I think I also wanted to show you, when working on, the basic low fidelity wireframes, there's a font type. I think it's called, okay, so I think I've forgotten the name of the font.
I think it's rounded.
Let's see, rounded, without. Okay, so it seems like I totally forgot. I don't think it's now. Okay, let me quickly check my browser. Okay. So I'm currently looking at Google Fonts. I know you can't see my screen, but I'm currently looking at Google Fonts, and I keep forgetting the name of that. I usually go back to Google Font to search for that. And I think we're talking about it yesterday, Amaka. Yeah, we forgot it. We probably forgot the name too. Aha, so yeah, I remember now. It's Flow. Yeah, so flow block. Okay, so and of course, under the flow block, you have the flow circular, flow rounded. I think that's what Amaka was making reference to. So let's work with the flow circular. So you see, you probably see a lot of items like this. You can actually use that to showcase, like, yeah, just you basically don't know what to type, at this stage. So you're just, trying dummy text, but at the same time, you don't want those texts to show up. So you want it to look better, at least, yeah. So I think this can work. So let's assume I'm going to have my profile picture, right here. Let's work with the rectangle. Okay. So we're basically going to have our profile image right here. Then we also have the email and the name, right? We have the name and the email. So I think maybe the name would come first and before the email. So let's just assume that the name is short, kind of. And then we have the text, maybe a bit longer. Okay. So of course, and I think I also explained, working with this the layout grid. Amaka would also explain that even better, but I'm turning that on because I basically want to ensure that we are on the same, we are on the right. Uh, we're working with the layout grid here, right? So I'm going to bring this in. I think I have to mute myself to avoid having that sound again. Okay. Yeah, so we just have like the email and the name coming here. So I think we missed something already. We actually missed the icons. So we have to have like two icons. I'm simply going to duplicate this, or we can even remember we also created we can always work with this. Let's see, I think we have something here. So I'm just trying to copy and paste this item. Okay. All right. So we have those icons, and basically you have like yeah. So someone is asking if rounded is a font family. So it's called Flow. It's called Flow. So you can search for Flow on Google Fonts. When you search for Flow, you can download it and install it on your. I'm currently using a Mac, but you can install it on your Windows OS as well. It will work on your Windows operating system. So yeah. So now we have these items, and then the next items we have here is basically our phone number and our account number. So let's go ahead and do that. We have like phone number would show up here. These are just icons to represent, those things I'm currently mentioning. But you have like the phone number. Let me drop this down a little bit as well. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So we have like the phone number. Let's just make this one line. Okay. So what you can always do is, try as much as possible to probably duplicate some of these items, so it will be easier for you to work with. So I'm just simply going to duplicate this item. I'm going to put this in an auto layout, right? And let's take this off. Let's duplicate this. Yeah, so basically you see that, looking at our design, we just simply said, okay, we have, one line here showing the phone number and the account number. But, one thing you would also realize that when you start implementing this, you would, of course, have to probably have like a label, right? And, before you put in the value, and it depends on you at the end of the day. You might say you want to have a label. So what I mean is, you might decide to say, okay, I want to have a label. So let me take these items, I want to have a label. So at the top here, I want to write phone number, right, as a text. And at this point, I would have the value, right, the value of that text, right? So you might decide to say, okay, this is what I basically want to have at the end of the day. Let's adjust the spacing in between. So I want to make it look like this. If that is what you want, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So so someone is saying, Edris Kolade is saying he can't hear anything. I hope you guys can hear me. Amaka, please confirm.
Yes, I can hear you.
Amaka, please confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, right. Sorry, I muted myself. Okay, yeah, good. I can see the message on the chat. All right, good. So if you can't hear me, please, work on your network or your sound, right, on your system. So I also want to, make sure we are consistent here. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't really matter if you have this, shape, but I just want to maintain that consistency here by ensuring that we are showcasing the same thing. So this is going to be like an image, right? Yeah, so basically I'm just going to put back the auto layout in there. Okay, so someone is asking if this video will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube. Yes, this video will be on YouTube, but being here is also very important, except you're having issues with your network or something. So you see that I'm also trying to ensure that we have like a proper alignment. So sometimes what you might do is, to kind of like work with the ruler, just to ensure that I don't think that's necessary because I'm already working with the layout grid. But you might want to do that, just to maintain that consistency. Of course, you can do this very fast. You don't necessarily need to spend a lot of time because this is just a quick sketch, right? So we have 4 people in the waiting room. So please, someone should always check and ensure that we're bringing those people in. All right, so I'll move on to the next thing here, which is basically having this other set of items. We actually divided this section because we wanted to add some things into this section, maybe like some quick action, some kind of icons. We were not sure of what to put in here. I remember we did not really conduct any research. We're just trying to implement something very random. we'll get to the stage where we'll have to conduct research before working on our design. So you don't have to be bothered about this for now. So let us go back to our design and let's just try to. I'm going to simply use the pen tool to put this separation here. Now you can always use a rectangle for that if that's what you want. You can definitely do that as well. I'm just using the pen tool for this. So I have like that straight line. Just this, okay. Okay, so all right, I think looking at our design, that should come down here. Let's duplicate. Okay. So we'll come back to this, and in the final section, at the bottom here, we had transaction history, quick transfer, and settings. So yeah, we're also, let's take this off for now. Oh yeah, so I said I needed this this text, but of course I can always copy it from the top again. So let's take it off for now. I'm just going to delete that, and let's bring these items. I think I need just one. I need just one because I'm going to first edit the flow block character here, take that off. Okay, so we have transaction history. Let's duplicate this. Okay, so let's duplicate once again. Okay, yeah, so we have these items. Let's put that together with an auto layout, work on the spacing in between. I'm going to use 20. So now we have this set of icons, right? This set of, this is transaction, this is quick transfer, and the final option will be settings. We're going to put in those texts shortly. So yeah, we're going to put in those texts shortly. Let's try to add a little bit of gap in here, 30 pixels, I think on both ends, that is fine. Now at this part here, we're going to take this off for now. We basically want to work, with an icon. So I'm going to simply, pick this. Okay. And of course, remember this is still part of our app. Like those icons you have on our design, we have 4 of them. Sometimes you might just, yeah, and you also want to ensure that this is kind of like an actionable item. So you want to have you want it to be to have enough space. You also notice one thing. There's one thing you will notice here that the layout grid we're working with, we can also adjust that and ensure that we're able to at least follow the grid or follow the layout grid, to position our icons properly. We did not do that here, but yeah, this is just an example again. So let's duplicate. I think I did Control D once again, grab the whole thing, and try to adjust this. Did I do that? Okay. All right, so let's just assume this is all we have. We have different icons right here. Maybe those icons would have text. It's not compulsory, right? But let's assume you want. So looking at our design, okay. So looking at our design, you can see these icons basically do not have any text, right? When we did this together, we have 2 people in the waiting room. Please always check and admit people in the waiting room. Okay. Just try your best to always do that. Okay, so now these are the icons we have. We have a bunch of, we have a bunch of space here. So we can always, make some adjustments to ensure that we don't have, too many white spaces that we're not using for anything. Of course, this is as a result. I think this is because we don't really have a lot to show on our application, but we can also optimize and make good use of these spaces. So what I'm going to do right now is let's just adjust this and let's put in some quick actions here. Of course, always try as much as possible to do your research and understand what you're building or what you're trying to design. I'm going to use this in here because I'm just making an assumption right now that we're going to have some kind of actions that we want to be able to perform directly from here. We're not sure, we don't even know what we'll put in there, but this is just remember an example. So let us let us say we have this. Okay, I'm going to first ungroup this item. I grouped it together using auto layout. So let's ungroup this item. Let's work with this. So I'm going to answer some questions right now. I'm going to duplicate. Okay, 2, 3, 4. Let's arrange this with auto layout, and let's see, we have so I'm trying to, this is 45. I'm just trying to look at that space and also implement the same spacing here. So, all right, good. Let's also ensure that, we are maintaining some level of consistency here. So let's click on the inspect tool, and I'm going to measure. So we have 30 pixels. I think this inspect tool is one of the nice things I really love about Figma, because I work with Sketch a lot. And, while using Sketch, sometimes I have to probably create some rectangles to test some of these things, but with the inspect tool, I can easily measure the distance I have. Figma is a very wonderful tool, even though I sometimes happen to be very biased. I love Sketch, but in terms of implementation, I would tell you that Figma would make it easy for you as a beginner entering design. So we have 35 pixels here. That's what we have. This is 35, but not really accurate. Okay, so yeah, so we're going to work with this for now. So basically, you see, well, we're currently using the let's see, I think this should be Android large, right? For our frame, yeah, I think this should be Android large. So basically, this is what we have. We have those icons in here. Let's quickly duplicate this and try to convert some of these things that we have to yeah, so probably high fidelity directly. Amaka, do you think, I think that works, right? So I'm looking at the charts. I see, is the grid system used as a standard for Android? Well, the grid system is used just for you to be able to maintain that level of consistency across your layout. Is not, I'm not going to say it's kind of like a standard, but every single platform use some level of grid system to basically understand how best to align things properly without just making random guesses. So yeah, I think my first experience working with grid system was actually in CSS, web development stuff. We call it the 12 grid columns, and it really helps a lot, because when you implement something on the web using that 12 grid column, it's easier for you to understand the level of how to implement responsive designs in such a way that it would also look good and clean on mobile. So yeah, so someone is asking, is the margin usually constant across each platform? No, right? No, it's not. There are some, I mean, you would definitely be advised to use some certain level of margin, right? But it's not really constant. So when you look at different applications, you see that sometimes, some of them, they are sometimes different, right? Depending on the team, the developers, and their reason for doing that. But if you, I would advise you work with, some of the recommendations from, platforms like Google and their material UI design, and also the iOS kit, UI kits, the iOS UI kit, because your design is basically going to live on their platforms. So it's better to work with their, standards and the recommendations. What is the recommended layout column for? Okay, so I think looking at what I have here, I worked with 8, but yeah, Amaka would definitely disagree to my decision here. So talking about the recommendations, I think, I've seen a lot of people work with 12, but, mostly on the web. So when it comes down to mobile, all they do is probably divide this by 6, right? And that's what they do. The reason why I love working with 8 is because, I tend to, based on my experience, I basically love to have, the kind of column grid, that I can use to span maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see that it's possible for me to, implement like, I can actually have, like, let's say 4 cards, sitting on this interface. But at the same time, I would tell you that it depends, it depends. Someone is saying, does all elements in the design have to be a multiple of 8? Well, I think I've also heard, and I've seen some, videos on YouTube where some people make such recommendations. I personally won't say, I'm the best person to answer that question. I'm not sure, but I think the reason why and I was trying to explain that, when you talk about, like, the multiple of 8, I think some people work with a 12 grid column because they want to be able to, have a a UI or a design that can adapt to probably, eight, like 8 items sitting, arranged properly, like, on the column, or maybe they want to have like, 4 or even 3, or even down to 1. I mean, from, 1, 2, is divisible. Of course, 12 is divisible by 2, by 3, by 4, and you can have multiple things arranged properly with a consistently. I think at the end of the day, it's all about consistency, right? At the end of the day, it's all about consistency. And if you're able to maintain consistency across across multiple screens, because you might want to have, a layout for this on the web as well. I think that is all that matters. Yeah, I'm wondering how this got here. I believe no one has edit access. Am I correct, Amaka?
No, they only have view access, so you can be there.
Amaka, can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So okay, so I'm going to proceed right now. So let me just try to rush through this. I'm going to grab a bunch of icons, and I'm going to be fast. So let's see. All right, so what I'm going to do basically is take what I have on this screen off. Okay, so I'm going to first take this off as well. Okay, so I'm going to bring in this item. So I'm basically going to like change what I have here. And of course, you can decide to even do this with every single item. Probably you just want to maintain the position and all that. You can decide to do that. So if you notice, I just did something and I wanted to show you what I did. Let me use Control Z. Let's go back. Okay. So basically what I did here was I used auto layout, and I basically used that auto layout to ensure that I have the same spacing, in between. You see 32 pixels, to make sure I have the same spacing across all the items. But there's a problem here, and I will explain why we have that problem. So basically, I would love to group this together first, right? Group this together. Okay, have I done that? Control G, okay. Also group this together, or you can even use the auto layout stuff here. So this item are together, right? These two. This item is on its own. These items are together. These items are together. These items are together, and these items are together. So I'm going to select, all these items together just like this, and yeah, including this one. And I'm going to use Shift A. Let's see what I got here. So I'm also going to all right. So there was a bit of problem with the alignment, and I'll tell you why. So basically, the problem we have is that we have this item, that is basically longer than every other item. So you see, this item actually got right here. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to ungroup this first. I'm going to select 1, 2, 3 auto layout. So basically, yeah, auto layouts, and I'm going to so arrange this just like this. Auto layout as well, and the same size, right? 44 in between, just same what we have here, right? So 44. So I'm simply going to pick this this area. Let's paste this here, and now we're going to start replacing some of these components. So first of all, for the text, I'm going to simply change this to a regular text, and yeah, I'm going to stick to enter for this. Okay, so on this section, let's say we have I think that should be the name. So I'm going to say we have all right, so let's say John Doe. Okay, so we're still going to work on like the contrast, like the font weight and all that. So on this other section, we have the email. So let's just say John Doe at gmail.com. Okay, so on this area, we have I'm still going to change the font, right? So let's go ahead and change that. So we have enter. Okay, that's right. Enter. All right. So I think I called this. So we called it phone number, account number. Okay. So let's say we have the account number first. Okay. So I'm just going to say random number right here. So on this other part, we have something similar. Let's go ahead and do the same thing here. Okay. So we have the phone number. Okay, so 081, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay, so we are still going to just, bring in some of these icons real quick. So let me open up icon sets. Where is that to? Okay, so we have icon sets opened up. I think let's start by, so some of these icons, remember, I think you can always work with like, the material icons to give you like the exact or the right icons you need for like, the navigation and all that. So for now, I'm just going to put random icons from here. So let's search for navigation under the icon. So I'm simply going to work with this, right? I think this would work for me. So I'm just going to drag that in, and replace this specific item. So let's ungroup this first, and I can simply cut this and put it in here. I'm using the auto layout stuff for this, so I can simply take these other icons off. Okay. And then for the next icon I have here, I think looking at the design, that was probably supposed to be maybe like a profile icon. Yeah, I can't remember. So let's say we have like a profile icon. Let's search for user. Okay. Yeah, let's work with this. Okay, so I'm just going to take this off, delete that. Okay, so also let's ensure that this is probably sitting well, properly positioned. For the image, I'm going to, I think I can just take yeah, so let's just work with this. Let's take off the stroke, and probably we can use on Splash. There are some plugins, there's some plugins you can use. I don't think I have any avatar plugin here. I'm not sure I have any installed here. And it seems like on Splash is taking a bit of it, it's taking a bit longer to load. Okay, so I'm simply going to search for avatar. Oh yeah, I think I remember right now. I remember working with something emojis. Okay, so that would work. I think that would be faster too. Okay, so I'm just going to, ensure that I have equal, height and width. So let's work with maybe 60. Okay, and let's make this just want that to be, circular. Okay, so and maybe the space we have here, of course, this is too much. So I'm going to drop that as well. Let's drop it down to 10. I'm currently using auto layout, so it's quite easier to arrange those stuff. So for the account number, let's go ahead and yeah, let's see accounts. Okay. This should be like wallet. So let's use this for the account number. Let's cut this and bring it in here. Okay, then this is phone number. So let's just phone. So our icons are currently filled, so I think we can proceed with the filled icons. Yeah, so another thing we also need to consider is, okay, what is the what should be like the size of the icons, right? So I think this is 16. I love working with 16 by 16. So let's do that. I'm simply going to ungroup this item. Okay, so I have 16. Let's cut that and put it in here. Okay, all right. So we also see that there's a problem with this icon because it has like a parent, like a wrapper right above this. So I'm going to simply paste it in here, take off the wrapper and then move this to the other side. Okay. So yeah, so the next thing I see that we also need to put in here this set of icons. Let's dump this in here and let's replace some of these components. So we have a bunch of like things we could put in here, things like wallets, things like quick transfer. I'm not certain, so I'm just going to put in some random items there. So I'm going to click on this, change everything here to enter, and I'm going to say let's also okay, fine. So I'm going to say wallets. I think this has to be. So remember that we created like, this auto layout thing here. So I'm going to first on group, select, on group again. So I'm going to select each item and ensure that this is, properly aligned to center. So let's do that here. I'm going to say wallets. I'm going to say history, transaction. I don't know if that would work. Okay, so let's just say pay out, so that makes sense. Okay, so we are still going to ensure that we're maintaining that level of consistency, using that auto layout stuff. As you can see, we just there's a problem here, so we have to fix that using at least adjust the size of the icon. So someone is trying to join the call. Now we have to start searching for a bunch of icons, and of course you can always search for you can always use colorful icons, black and white icons. I think it depends. It depends on what you find more attractive and appealing at the end of the day. You want to ensure that you work on something that the users would want to use, right? So what I'm simply going to do is make some of these items. Where's the? I think we have too much spacing right here. Okay, so I'm simply going to add like kind of like a space in between, or probably even separate. Yeah, probably even separate the text and use auto layout, put them together just like this. Okay, let's paste okay, that's email. Yeah, so if you feel that the spacing is too much, this is auto layout, so you know what to do, and reduce that. Okay, so yeah, let's leave this for now, and let's go ahead to bring this part. All right, so I think what I have on this place, I have like profile, transfer, withdrawal, and settings. So I wrote 4 items down, but unfortunately we just have like 3 items here. So profile, these things are not related, right? Profile on this page is not making any sense. So let's just say profile, transfer, withdrawal. I'm just going to leave it that way. So this is enter. Okay. Okay, come on. So Control Z, and I want to ensure. Okay, so just on group first, on group again. Okay. Profile, transfer, withdrawal. And depending on the app you're building, you might always say, okay, I have enough space. I want to go ahead and don't make your app look cluttered, or maybe you are showing the users too many things, and they end up trying to decide, and it's a bit confusing at this point. But if you feel that your application, you have enough space, and you're not showcasing something so complicated for the users to understand. And I think when we start working on the UX parts very well, we would explain some of this part, right? You don't want to load your users with too much information. So sometimes you just have to keep it as simple as just having set of items like this. Let us see if we can have some. Okay, so profile again. I think we might end up using the same profile icon. That is not looking good. So let's say let's call this transaction history. Okay, let's call this withdrawal history, and let's call this see beneficiaries. I don't know that works, or view beneficiaries. Okay, so we don't have like set of icons here. Of course, I can say I think it's better if we just say you guys should go ahead and like finish this up with the icons, with the set of icons required. I'm going to quickly make this item probably drop the opacity down to 40, or maybe that is still too much. Let's use 14. I just want to make sure that it's there, but not really. Yeah, and for the background, I love to also reduce this a little bit. So let's take up the let's just hide this. Let's see what we've got for now. Also for the icons, let's just drop the I think I can also do this. Okay, so let's just say, and remember, I think in the last session I also advised that using opacity sometimes is not the best option. You can always adjust this. Ensure you have like your color. You have your style guide implemented already, of course, but even without that, I believe you understand the reason why I said you shouldn't. Let's also take this out. Okay, all right. So that it can align properly. You have a lot of space, right? And sometimes you just don't need you don't just need too much spaces like this, right? So you can always you see we're already doing adjustments, even though we also used like a wireframe for this, but just because we just discovered we have a lot of spacing and this is no longer working for us, we can always adjust this. What about the spacing you have on top here? What can you do here? I can decide to bring in, let's see what I can do. I think I have, oh, that was a mistake. Cut and paste properly. Okay, so I can decide to put in some kind of let's see what I can do here. So I'm going to cut this for now. So I'm just trying to fill up that space with a little bit of design. So I can decide to put in, and I'm sure most of you already know what I'm trying to do, right? So I can bring back the layout grid to ensure that things are looking proper. So adjust this, okay. Okay, so let's see why this item is not, okay, so I think what I'm going to do right now, this is properly sitting in the center, but there's a bit of a problem. So, and of course, I'm using auto layout, I can work on those adjustments, but I just want to go ahead and do this again. So I noticed that there was something sitting right there. I'm going to paste this again, not in here, but on top, okay, right here. And I'm simply going to select these items back to the auto layout thing. Now I'm going to stretch this, and then we can always think use space between, okay, to adjust this properly till we get this. Okay, so that can work. And what do we have in here? So I think now we can just bring back the splash. I think we've already spent 1 hour here. So I'm just quickly going to search for NFT. I'm not trying to put in, so there's this design I always love. I always love using, I think it's this TZ, yeah, these TZ designs. So of course you can put in whatever it is you would love to put in. I just wanted to take some of these pictures because I love them. Okay, so this of course has to look. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to add like make this like 70. Okay, selection. All right, so let's just leave this for now. So yeah, you have to also make this visible. This text is not very clear because I reduced it intentionally on the wireframe. So you have to adjust that. You still have to put in, the set of icons that would make this feel comfortable and feel comfortable to basically use, right? So I'm going to leave that part for you, to put in some of the icons here to replace this. That is not compulsory, but what I want you to really understand is the migration, from the low fidelity, right? Which is basically this low fidelity. So, the high fidelity or probably the mid fidelity, if you also have plans to, make more changes as you proceed. So, I mean, I would have loved to finish this, but because of time, high fidelity, because of time, yeah, so you can always adjust this, work on the colors, for the icons. Remember I said we definitely have a style guide, as to proceed. You have a style guide that would carry your text type, your font type and all those stuff. So even the type of icons you should use, and also what you should even have, like, on this part here. You might say, okay, this text are already too much. I want to probably have like a chart to show my transaction level in the past 1 month. So you can even have like a chart, right? You can have like a chart showing that that kind of detail. So sometimes it's good to have those kind of details show up here instead of having to search or move around or navigate for a very long time before you see that kind of stuff. If you don't have that kind of chart detail, you might say, okay, I want to even show like probably a quick news use. Maybe I think I've seen some fintech application do that. To show you that probably you can have someone help you trade or blah blah blah. There are so many things you can do, but of course you always have to ensure that you are staying within the context of your research, or the context of the solution you're trying to provide to the users at the end of the day. So I think it's up to you, to go ahead and explore, play around with this. I will stop here for now. Yeah, I think I'll stop here. Amaka, I think I used up your time. I hope
Yes,
you can hear
you
me.
did.
Again, okay. So you see, that's the problem. I'm always using up Amaka's time, and the last time I was almost arrested, and I hope, I hope she won't arrest me this time around. Okay, so what do we do? I think maybe you guys can go ahead and play around with this. This file is already shared with you. I think I saw a couple of guys on this file, so you can play around with this file. Just change some of these stuffs. The major thing we're trying to show you was wireframing. We're going to have sessions where we would invite someone, we interact with that person. We actually conduct research before proceeding to implement this kind of stuff. This is just a very simple example, right? So go ahead and play around with this file. You can replicate this, And one thing I would always ask you to, ensure that I think I've seen a lot of people designing mobile related stuff, and some of the icons are just too big, right? Icons are too big, text are too big. You see, I actually stick to one font size here, 12, and I can set a contrast basically using the weight of the font. There's nothing wrong with trying to use two font sizes. Maybe one of them should be bigger, probably the label can be small, the main value here can be bigger, but just ensure you don't use sizes that are too big, right? That's why we have the style guide. So the style guide will always guide you throughout the process. And when you see that something is about to go out of you can always design something in such a way that they would have to click before you have a modal showing them more details and all that. Just ensure you are staying within the boundary of your design guide, right? And you don't go off that boundary, right? You see that this item is already exceeding. I can always decide to adjust, right? Adjust and position things properly in the center. So yeah, so this is a quick one, and I hope you enjoyed it. I think in the next session, Amaka would handle the rest. She actually wanted to teach you grids, right? And I believe she told me she would do that on this call. Unfortunately, I probably talk too much or something, and I took up her time again. So Maka, when can you I think we can do that in the next session, right?
We can do that in the workshop session.
Okay. All right. So apologies for this delay once again. I spent extra 6 minutes. And I think yeah, this is supposed to be just an hour, so we're good. So go ahead and try to replicate this, play around with it, and you can download this from Google Fonts. Basically, it's called Flow. I think it's Flow. Let me see. Just search for Flow, right? It's called Flow, and under the Flow family, you have Flow Circular, you have the Flow Rounded, you have the Flow Block. So go ahead and download that. And yeah, if you have any other question, let's just do 3 minutes. So please be fast. If you have any other question, drop your questions, and try as much as possible to be in the next session. Someone is asking, in the PDF Amaka dropped, it taught about alignment of text and the boxes. Does the same rule apply to icons? Yes, of course. Yes, of course. That alignment, you have to make sure that things are properly aligned. Your text, the images. What about the name for the boxes? Are you referring to this name or these boxes here? If that's what you're referring to, Esther, I think you can. That's why I said you can definitely play around with this and add more items here. So I think we called it in our wireframe, we called it profile transfer withdrawal settings. Basically, we're almost referencing some other items we have here. So you can decide to use this, right? Because it's very similar, right? You can decide to use this. Just ensure you have, you work on the spacing later on, so you can change this to profile, transfer, withdrawal, and settings. So maybe you plan to clone this later on. So I'm just going to say profile withdraw, transfer. and settings. So just in case you want to play around with this, you can always, but sometimes you don't necessarily need the name, except to feel that the icons might not be enough for the users to understand. Okay, so do we have any other question again? I don't think so. Is the box an icon or a shape? Are you referring to the box? This box is basically a shape. You have to put in your icons here, right? If I don't know. Is that what you mean? Okay, yeah. So you have to put in your icons. So we designed this together in the previous session. We just quickly came up with this, but you can search for wireframing kits that will probably give you, even better shapes to work with. Okay, so it's not an icon; it's just a shape with, two lines that was grouped together. Okay. Any other question? All right. So Amaka, I think we can close the session already, please.
Okay. So closing for tonight. If you have any questions to ask, feel free to drop them on Discord and we'll pick them up from there. So have a great night. See you on Thursday during the workshop hour.
All right. Okay. So yeah. Wonderful night. Bye, guys. Okay.